The rain hammered against the shuttle's hull as Marcus Kane adjusted his environmental suit. The destroyed research station below looked like a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered dreams. His wife Zara squeezed his hand through her own protective gear, her violet eyes reflecting the same determination that had drawn him to her 5 years ago. "Are you certain the distress signal came from here?" Marcus asked through the comm system. The facility had been dark for weeks, officially abandoned after a terrorist attack. But their private intelligence network suggested otherwise. "The signal was faint, but definitely human in origin," Zara replied, her melodic accent making even the technical details sound like poetry. As one of the few aliens to hold dual citizenship with Earth, she had access to communication frequencies that most humans never knew existed. There, shuttle touched down on the cracked landing pad. The facility sprawled before them like a mechanical corpse, its gleaming towers now blackened ruins. Marcus had invested heavily in this research station, believing it focused on medical advancement. The recent revelations about illegal experiments had shattered that illusion. They moved through the wreckage with practiced caution. Marcus had learned to trust Zara's enhanced senses, while she relied on his strategic mind. Their partnership had been both professional and personal from the beginning. Though grief over their daughter's death had driven them apart for months, their Zara whispered, pointing to a faint light flickering in the lower levels, "Someone is alive down there." The descent through the facilities, emergency stairs, felt like a journey into the underworld. Each level revealed more evidence of the horrors that had taken place here. Abandoned laboratories filled with strange equipment, holding cells designed for beings much smaller than adults, and documentation scattered everywhere like guilty confessions. Marcus felt his rage building as they discovered room after room of evidence. Children had been held here, experimented on, their lives treated as nothing more than research data. The investment money he had provided unknowingly funded this nightmare. "Marcus, look at this," Zara called from ahead. She stood in front of a heavy security door that had been forced open from the inside. Beyond it lay a small room that might have once been comfortable. If not for the monitoring equipment and medical restraints, the light they had seen came from a small emergency beacon clutched in tiny hands. A child sat huddled in the corner, her appearance striking Marcus like a physical blow. Despite her obvious alien heritage, she possessed features that reminded him painfully of Luna, the daughter they had lost to a rare genetic disease 2 years ago. The child looked up at them with eyes that held far too much intelligence and pain for someone so young. Her skin had the pale blue tint common to Zara's species, but her facial structure showed clear human influence. When she spoke, her voice carried the same musical quality as Zara's people. "Are you here to take me back to the laboratories?" she asked, her small body trembling with exhaustion and fear. "No, little one," Zara said softly, kneeling to the child's level while maintaining a respectful distance. "We're here to help you. What's your name?" "The scientists called me Subject 779, but I remember another name from my dreams. Nova." The child studied them both carefully. "You look different from the others who worked here." Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. A protective instinct he hadn't experienced since Luna's death. This child had been through unimaginable trauma, yet she maintained a dignity that spoke to incredible inner strength. "Nova is a beautiful name," he said, his voice gentler than it had been in months. "We're going to get you out of here." The child tilted her head, studying him with those unnaturally perceptive eyes. "You're human, but she's not. Are you mates like the researchers said some species do?" Zara's cheeks darkened with a blush that Marcus found endearing even in these circumstances. "Yes, we're married. We're partners. The scientists said that was impossible, that humans and my people couldn't create viable offspring." Nova's expression grew thoughtful, but they were wrong about many things. A chill ran down Marcus's spine as the implications became clear. The genetic markers, the familiar features, the timing of the experiments. "This child wasn't just any victim of the illegal research program, Nova," he said carefully. "Do you know anything about how you came to be here?" The child nodded solemnly. "They used genetic material from donors. They showed me pictures once. said I should be grateful to have such successful parents. She paused, her young face growing troubled. They said my genetic parents had lost their own child and that I was meant to replace her. Zara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The fertility treatments they had undergone after Luna's death, the genetic samples provided to this very facility for research purposes. Their grief had been exploited, their most intimate hopes used to create this child for unknown purposes. We need to leave immediately, Marcus said, his mind already calculating routes and resources. If she's who I think she is, there'll be people looking for her, as if summoned by his words. The distant sound of approaching aircraft echoed through the facility. Military-grade engines, moving fast and with purpose, Nova stood quickly, her small frame somehow projecting confidence beyond her years. They found us. They always find us eventually. Not this time, Zara said firmly, lifting the child into her arms. This time, you have people who will fight for you. The three of them moved toward the emergency exit as the sound of boots echoed from the main entrance. Nova clung to Zara with surprising strength, while Marcus checked his sidearm and activated their shuttle's remote start sequence, whatever lay ahead. Marcus knew their lives had just changed forever. This child, created from their genetic material and forged by unimaginable hardship, had awakened something in both of them that they thought had died with Luna. Hidden secrets. The shuttles streaked through the atmosphere at maximum velocity, while pursuit ships closed the distance behind them. Marcus gripped the controls with steady hands, his years of military training serving him well despite the passage of time. In the passenger compartment, Zara held Nova close, whispering reassurances in her native tongue. The jump gate to the outer colonies is still 12 minutes away, Marcus called back to them. Can our pursuers track us through a gate jump? Nova's voice carried an unexpected note of authority. They have tracking devices in most of us, but mine was damaged when I escaped my cell. They're following heat signatures and engine emissions now. The casual way she discussed. Tracking devices implanted in children made Marcus's blood boil. He activated the shuttle's defensive systems, surprised to find military-grade countermeasures that he didn't remember installing. Zara's family connections had their advantages. How many others were with you at the facility? Zara asked gently, stroking Nova's hair in a gesture that seemed natural despite their brief acquaintance. There were 15 of us in my section. Different combinations of species, different abilities being developed. Nova's young voice carried a weight that no child should bear. I was considered the most successful hybrid because I inherited traits from both parent species without the usual genetic instabilities. Zara exchanged a meaningful look with Marcus. The fertility specialists had assured them that their genetic material was being used solely for research into treating genetic diseases. The reality was far more sinister. The pursuing ships opened fire, energy bolts searing past their hull. Marcus threw the shuttle into an evasive pattern that would have impressed his old flight instructors. But their pursuers were gaining ground, and the jump gate still seemed impossibly far away. There's something else you should know about me, Nova said quietly. I can do things that the scientists couldn't explain, as if to demonstrate. She placed her small hand against the shuttle's bulkhead. The metal began to glow softly, and Marcus felt the engines surge with power beyond their rated specifications. Their speed increased dramatically, pulling away from the pursuit ships. How did you do that? Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. The experiments gave me the ability to interface with technology, especially anything with quantum processors. The scientists said it was an unexpected mutation. Nova's explanation was delivered with the matter-of-fact tone of someone describing the weather. Zara's grip on the child tightened protectively. They experimented on you to create these abilities. Nova nodded. They said I was designed to be the perfect soldier. Enhanced strength from the human genetic contributions. Natural, telepathic abilities from Zara's people. And technological interface capabilities that neither species possesses naturally. The jump gate finally came into view. A massive ring of exotic matter that could fold space itself. Marcus had used these gates for business travel countless times, but never while fleeing for his life. He input coordinates for a destination known only to his most trusted allies, as they approached the gate. Nova's hand remained against the bulkhead. The pursuing ships have activated a jamming field. They're trying to prevent us from making the jump. Can you override it? Marcus asked. I can try, but it will require more direct contact with the ship's systems. Nova looked at Zara with surprising maturity. It might be uncomfortable for you to watch. Zara's expression showed her. Internal struggle between protecting the child and accepting help. What do you need to do? Nova moved to the main control console, placing both hands on the interface panel. Her eyes closed in concentration, and the shuttle's systems began responding to her presence. Displays flickered and changed, showing readouts that Marcus had never seen before. The connection seemed to cause Nova physical discomfort. Her small body trembled with effort, and Zara instinctively reached out to steady her. The moment Zara's hand touched Nova's shoulder, something extraordinary happened. Both females gasped simultaneously, their eyes opening wide with shared recognition. The telepathic abilities that Nova had inherited from Zara's people had created an instant connection between them. For a brief moment, they shared thoughts and emotions with an intimacy that surprised them both. Marcus watched this, exchanged with fascination and a growing sense of completion. This child, created from their genetic material and shaped by unimaginable hardship, was forming bonds with them that felt startlingly natural. I can feel your memories, Nova whispered to Zara. You really did lose a daughter. She was beautiful. Tears streamed down Zara's face as she experienced Nova's memories of the research facility. The pain and isolation, but also the incredible strength and hope that had kept the child sane through months of experimentation. You're not a replacement. For Luna, Zara said firmly, you're your own person, with your own value. The jump gate activated successfully, the jamming field overcome by Nova's technological abilities. Space folded around them, and in an instant they emerged in a different star system entirely. Their pursuers were left behind. At least temporarily. Marcus set the shuttle on autopilot toward a small space station that served as one of his private retreats. We need to figure out our next steps. They'll eventually track us here, but we should have a few days. Nova released her connection to the ship's systems, swaying slightly from exhaustion. Zara caught her automatically, and Marcus found himself moving to support them both. For a moment, they stood together like a family, united by circumstances beyond their control. There's something else, Nova said, her young voice heavy with responsibility. The other children from the facility. If we don't help them, they'll be moved to other locations. The scientist said I was the prototype, but the others were just as valuable to them. Marcus met Zara's eyes over Nova's head. The child was asking them to risk everything for strangers, to take on an entire conspiracy that had already cost them their daughter and now threatened their own lives. Then we'll help them, Zara said without hesitation. All of them. Marcus nodded, feeling a sense of purpose that had been missing since Luna's death. We'll need allies, resources, and a plan. But yes, we'll help them. Nova looked up at them with something approaching hope for the first time since they'd found her. The scientists were wrong about one thing. They said that human-alien partnerships were inherently unstable. But you two are stronger together than either of you could be alone. The chase begins. The private space station orbited a small moon in the neutral zone between human and alien territories. Marcus had purchased it years ago as a retreat from the pressures of corporate life, never imagining it would become a refuge for his unusual family. The station's automated systems had prepared living quarters for 3 occupants. Though they had been designed with more conventional guests in mind, Nova stood at the observation deck's massive viewport, her small figure silhouetted against the stars. They're coming, she said quietly, though the long-range sensors showed nothing yet. I can feel their approach through the quantum resonance patterns. Zara approached the child carefully, still learning the boundaries of their newfound connection. Since the shuttle flight, they had experienced several more instances of shared consciousness, each one strengthening the bond between them. How much time do we have? Zara asked, placing a gentle hand on Nova's shoulder. 6 hours, maybe 7. They're using multiple ships this time, trying to surround us. Nova turned from the viewport. her young face showing the strain of constant vigilance. "I'm sorry for bringing this danger to you," Marcus looked up from the communication console where he had been coordinating with old military contacts. "You didn't bring danger to us, Nova. We brought you to safety. There's a difference." The child's expression showed surprise at his certainty. "But your life was peaceful before you found me. Now you're fugitives. Our life was empty before we found you," Zara corrected gently. "Peace without purpose isn't really living." Marcus activated the station's defensive systems, privately grateful for the military-grade modifications he had installed during more paranoid years. "I've contacted Captain Torres. She owes me favors from our service days, and her ship can outrun anything the research consortium has." "You trust her?" Zara asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "With my life. She's been running independent operations in this sector for years, mostly helping refugees and dissidents. This situation is exactly the kind of cause she supports." Marcus moved to the tactical display. Studying approach vectors and defensive options, Nova joined them at the console, her small hands moving over the controls with surprising competence. "There's something you should know about the people hunting us. They're not just corporate security or even military forces." "What do you mean?" Zara asked. Though the worry in her voice suggested she suspected the truth, some of the personnel at the facility were enhanced humans, modified with alien technology to make them more effective soldiers. They can interface with their equipment the same way I can. But they chose to become what they are. Nova's explanation carried a note of sadness. "They hunt people like me because they understand how dangerous we could be to their employers." Marcus felt a chill at the implications. Enhanced soldiers hunting hybrid children created a conflict that went far beyond simple corporate espionage. This was about the future of human-alien relations and the potential for entirely new forms of life. The first proximity alarms sounded as hostile ships appeared at the edge of sensor range. 5 vessels, military configuration. Moving with the coordinated precision of experienced hunters. "Time to go," Marcus announced, initiating the station's evacuation protocols. "Torres should rendezvous with us at the emergency coordinates in 40 minutes. They moved quickly through the station's corridors, gathering essential supplies and data storage devices. Nova seemed to absorb information about their situation with remarkable calm, as if constant flight was already natural to her. As they reached the docking bay where their shuttle waited, "Wait, there's someone else here." Marcus drew his sidearm instinctively, while Zara moved to shield Nova with her body. "Where?" "The maintenance section. It's another child, but different from me. Stronger in some ways, but damaged." Nova's eyes unfocused slightly as she extended her enhanced senses. "He's been hiding here for days." Without hesitation, Zara headed toward the maintenance section. "We're not leaving anyone behind." They found the boy huddled in a service alcove, his appearance clearly showing the results of genetic experimentation. His human features were prominent, but his skin had a metallic sheen that suggested technological integration at the cellular level. "Please, don't hurt me," he whispered, though his eyes showed more anger than fear. "We're here to help," Nova said, moving past the adults to approach the boy directly. "I'm like you. We're both from the research facilities." The boy studied Nova with obvious relief. "I escaped during the attack on Facility 7. I've been trying to reach the outer colonies, but they keep finding me." "What's your name?" Zara asked gently. "The scientists called me Subject 442. But I remember my real name, Jackson." The boy stood slowly, revealing that he was several years older than Nova, perhaps 12 or 13 by human standards. Marcus checked the chronometer as the proximity alarms grew more urgent. "We need to move now. Explanations can wait until we're somewhere safe." The 5 of them boarded the shuttle. As the first energy beams began striking the station's outer hull, Marcus pushed the engines beyond safe limits, racing toward the rendezvous coordinates while their temporary home burned behind them. "Multiple pursuit ships incoming," Jackson reported, his enhanced senses apparently including tactical awareness. "They're trying to box us in before we can reach the rendezvous point." Nova and Jackson worked together at the shuttle's control systems, their combined abilities allowing them to extract performance that Marcus wouldn't have thought possible. The shuttle twisted through space with impossible agility, avoiding energy beams and missile locks with preternatural grace. There, Zara pointed to a sleek vessel emerging from behind an asteroid. That's Torres's ship. The rescue vessel, named Defiance, lived up to its reputation. Captain Elena Torres was known throughout the outer colonies as someone who could outrun, outfight, or outthink anyone foolish enough to challenge her. Her ship's weapon systems engaged the pursuit ships immediately, buying precious time for the shuttle to dock as they transferred to the larger vessel. Marcus caught his first glimpse of Torres in years. She had aged well, her dark hair now streaked with silver, but her eyes still held the same fierce intelligence that had made her one of the military's most effective independent operators. "Marcus Kane," she said with a grin. "You always did know how to make an interesting request for help." "Elena."
"I meet my family,"
Marcus replied, surprised by how naturally the word came to him. Zara, Nova, and Jackson. Torres studied the group with professional assessment. 2 experimental subjects and an alien diplomat. "This is bigger than corporate espionage, isn't it?" "Much bigger," Zara confirmed. "This involves illegal human-alien hybrid programs and military applications that could destabilize the entire sector, as the Defiance accelerated away from their pursuers." Nova and Jackson explored their new temporary home with the adaptability of survivors. Marcus found himself watching Zara as she interacted with both children, her natural maternal instincts emerging despite the unconventional circumstances. It's not just children anymore," Elena observed quietly. "They're the future of human-alien cooperation. Whether anyone wants that or not." Marcus nodded, understanding that their flight had become something larger than simple survival. They were protecting not just Nova and Jackson, but the possibility of a new kind of relationship between species. Allies and enemies, the Defiance cut through hyperspace toward the Outer Rim territories, where Elena Torres maintained a network of allies and safe houses. In the ship's common area, Nova and Jackson had fallen asleep together on the couch, their young faces peaceful for the first time since Marcus had known them. The sight stirred emotions in him that he thought had died with Luna. "They trust each other completely," Zara observed, settling beside Marcus with 2 cups of synthetic coffee. "It's remarkable how quickly they bonded. Shared trauma has a way of creating instant connections," Elena said, joining them at the observation table. "I've seen it with refugee children before. They recognize something in each other that adults often miss." Marcus studied the tactical displays, showing their current position. "How long before our pursuers can track us here?" "Depends on their resources and connections," Elena replied. "The research consortium has deep pockets and government contracts. They might have access to tracking technology we don't know about." Nova stirred in her sleep, murmuring words in a language that none of them recognized. Jackson's eyes opened immediately. He placed a protective hand on her shoulder until she settled again. "He's been watching over her since they met," Zara noted with approval. "Despite being older, he seems to understand that she's more valuable to their enemies. Or more dangerous," Elena corrected. "From what you've told me about her abilities, Nova represents a quantum leap in human-alien integration. That makes her either humanity's greatest asset or its greatest threat, depending on who controls her." The ship's communication system chimed with an incoming message on a secured military frequency. Elena frowned as she accepted the transmission, and Marcus recognized the stern features of Admiral Rexton, his former commanding officer, Captain Torres. "You're harboring fugitives wanted in connection with the theft of classified military assets," the Admiral announced without preamble. Admiral Elena replied calmly, "I'm conducting a humanitarian rescue operation in neutral space. My passengers are refugees, not thieves, Mr. Kane," the Admiral continued, his gaze finding Marcus through the screen. "You're advised to surrender yourself and the alien subjects to proper authorities immediately. Continued resistance will be considered an act of terrorism against human interests." Marcus stepped forward, his military bearing returning automatically. "Admiral, with respect, the subjects you're referring to are children. Human children created using genetic materials stolen from my wife and me. The Admiral's expression didn't change. The circumstances of their creation are irrelevant. They represent military assets developed under classified programs. Their continued freedom poses a security risk to human space. Security risk. Zara interjected, her diplomatic training evident in her controlled tone. These children are victims of illegal experimentation. They deserve protection, not imprisonment. The alien perspective is noted but irrelevant. The Admiral replied dismissively. You have 6 hours to surrender, or we will take action to recover our assets. The transmission ended, leaving the common area in tense silence. Nova and Jackson were both awake now, having heard enough to understand the implications. He called us assets, Jackson said quietly, his young voice carrying bitter understanding. Not children, not people, assets. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. The same fury that had driven him through combat missions years ago. You're not assets to anyone. You're family. Alina activated the ship's long-range scanners. We need allies, and we need them fast. The Admiral wouldn't make that kind of threat unless he had significant forces in position. I have a suggestion, Zara said hesitantly. My brother Phoenix commands a fleet in this sector. He's never approved of my marriage to Marcus, but he values family honor above political considerations. Can you trust him? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Zara's relationship with her family had been strained since their marriage, but Phoenix had always been the most reasonable of her siblings. With our lives, Zara confirmed, but there will be a price. He'll want something in return. The next hour was spent in careful negotiation over encrypted channels. General Phoenix commanded significant military resources, but his position required him to balance family loyalty against political necessity. When his image finally appeared on the main screen, Marcus was struck by the family resemblance to Zara. Though Phoenix's features carried the hard edge of a career soldier, Sister Phoenix said formally, though his eyes showed genuine concern, you've created quite a diplomatic incident, brother. You need sanctuary and protection for 2 children who are being hunted by human military forces. Awada replied equally formally. I invoke family protection under the old codes. Phoenix studied Nova and Jackson with professional interest. These are the hybrid subjects mentioned in the intelligence reports. They're children who need help, Marcus interjected, stepping into the transmission range. Whatever their origins, they don't deserve to be treated as weapons or experiments. The human speaks with surprising wisdom, Phoenix noted, though his tone suggested grudging respect rather than approval. Very well. Bring them to the family compound. I can offer temporary sanctuary. But there will be conditions. The rendezvous with Phoenix's fleet took place near a small, agricultural world on the border between human and alien space. The sight of the General's flagship, a massive vessel bristling with advanced weaponry, reminded Marcus just how powerful Zara's family actually was. Phoenix met them personally in the flagship's docking bay, his impressive stature making even Alina Torres look small by comparison. He studied Nova and Jackson with the eye of someone evaluating potential assets, though his expression suggested genuine curiosity rather than cold calculation. So these are the children who have caused such turmoil, he said, kneeling to bring himself closer to their eye level. You don't look like weapons to me. We don't want to be weapons, Nova replied with quiet dignity. We just want to be free. Freedom is earned, not given, Phoenix said, though his tone was gentle rather than harsh. Are you prepared to fight for it? We've been fighting for it our entire lives, Jackson answered, his metallic skin reflecting the docking bay's lights. We just never had anyone willing to fight with us before. Phoenix stood, his decision apparently made. Then you'll have sanctuary with my fleet. But in return, you'll help us understand what the research consortium is really trying to accomplish. As they were escorted to guest quarters aboard the flagship, Marcus felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had gained powerful allies, but at the cost of deeper involvement in a conflict that seemed to grow more complex with each revelation. That evening, as Nova and Jackson settled into their new quarters, Marcus found himself alone with Zara for the first time in days. The stress of constant flight had awakened desires that grief had long suppressed. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Zara asked, standing close enough that he could smell the subtle fragrance of her hair. "I think we're doing the only thing we can do," Marcus replied, his hands finding her waist almost automatically. "These children need us, and we need them," Zara added, her violet eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "They've given us purpose again." Their kiss was desperate and hungry, a physical affirmation of their renewed connection. Months of grief and separation melted away as they rediscovered each other through shared determination to protect Nova and Jackson, but even as they lost themselves in each other, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that greater challenges lay ahead. The research consortium wouldn't give up easily, and the political implications of human-alien hybrid children were far from resolved. The final stand 3 weeks aboard General Phoenix's flagship had transformed Nova and Jackson from frightened fugitives into confident young people with a clear sense of purpose. They had shared their knowledge of the research consortium's operations, helping Phoenix's intelligence teams locate and map the remaining facilities where other hybrid children were being held. Marcus stood in the flagship's strategic planning center, studying the holographic displays that showed target locations across human space. 17 facilities, holding an estimated 200 children, he reported to the assembled commanders. All of them heavily defended, all of them conducting illegal experiments. "The political ramifications of attacking human facilities will be severe," Phoenix warned, though his tone suggested he had already made his decision. "This action will likely be considered an act of war by Earth's government. Then we make sure the truth gets out first," Lina Torres suggested from her position at the communications console. "Full documentation of what we find. Broadcast to every news service in human and alien space simultaneously." Zara activated another display, showing the consortium's command structure. The real leadership isn't military at all. It's corporate, with connections to the highest levels of human government. They've been selling the hybrid program as a defense initiative, while planning to use the children as private assets. Nova approached the main display, her small hand moving over the control interface to highlight specific facilities. "These 3 locations are where they keep the most successful subjects. The children there have abilities that go beyond what Jackson and I can do." "What kind of abilities?" Phoenix asked, his strategic mind immediately grasping the implications. "Temporal perception, matter manipulation, energy projection," Jackson replied, joining Nova at the display. The scientists were trying to create beings who could reshape reality itself. Marcus felt a chill at the implications. Children with godlike powers, controlled by corporate interests and military applications, the potential for abuse was unlimited. "Then we rescue them first," he decided, "before the consortium can relocate them, or worse." The next 48 hours were spent in intensive preparation. Phoenix's military expertise combined with Marcus's corporate knowledge and Elena's independent operations experience to create a plan that was ambitious, almost to the point of impossibility. 3. Simultaneous strikes, Phoenix explained to the assembled team leaders. "Rescue operations at the primary facilities while my fleet engages consortium military assets. The goal is to overwhelm their response capacity before they can harm the children." Zara would accompany the rescue teams as a diplomatic representative, ensuring that any rescued children would have legal protection under alien rights legislation. Marcus would lead the team targeting the primary facility, while Alina coordinated overall communications and logistics. Nova and Jackson insisted on participating despite the obvious dangers. "The other children will trust us more than adult strangers," Nova argued, "and our abilities can help overcome the facility's security systems." The night before the operation, Marcus found himself unable to sleep. He stood on the flagship's observation deck, watching the stars and thinking about how drastically his life had changed since finding Nova in that ruined research station. Zara joined him, as he had known she would. Their connection had deepened over the past weeks, forged through shared purpose and renewed by the responsibility of protecting Nova and Jackson. "Are you having second thoughts?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer about the operation. "No. about dragging you into this? Every day. Marcus pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair. You could still withdraw, claim diplomatic immunity, and abandon our children? Never. Zara's use of the plural was deliberate and significant. Nova and Jackson had become their children in every way that mattered. Despite the unconventional circumstances of their meeting, their kiss was tender and desperate. A couple stealing intimate moments before facing unknown dangers. The grief that had nearly destroyed their marriage had been transformed into a fierce protectiveness that made them stronger together. Then either could be alone. Whatever happens tomorrow, Zara whispered against his lips. I want you to know that finding Nova led me back to you, and finding you both led me back to myself, Marcus replied, his hands tracing the familiar curves of her body through her sleeping clothes. I love you, Zara. I never stopped, even when the grief made it impossible to show. What followed was a passionate reunion that affirmed their commitment not just to each other, but to the family they had found in the most unlikely circumstances. Their physical connection had always been intense, but now it carried deeper meaning. A promise to protect what they had built together. The next morning, the operation commenced with precision that would have impressed Marcus's old military instructors. Phoenix's fleet engaged, consortium forces at the designated coordinates, while smaller teams infiltrated the research facilities through routes identified by Nova and Jackson's intelligence. Marcus led his team through the primary facility's lower levels, following layouts memorized from stolen blueprints. The children held here were older than Nova and Jackson, their abilities more developed and more dangerous to their captors. Security. Systems are responding to our presence, reported Lieutenant Voss, Phoenix's second in command. But they're being countered somehow. That's Nova, Marcus explained, speaking into his communicator. She's interfacing with their systems remotely, using Jackson as a relay. The first holding area contained 12 children, their appearances showing the full range of human-alien hybrid possibilities. Some looked almost entirely human, while others showed obvious alien characteristics. All of them moved with the wary competence of survivors. Are you here to take us to new facilities? Asked a girl who appeared to be the group's leader. We're here to take you home, Marcus replied, though he realized that most of these children had never known a real home. You're free now. All of you. The evacuation proceeded smoothly until they reached the facility's upper levels. Consortium security forces had regrouped and were mounting a coordinated defense. Energy weapons filled the corridors with deadly light as Marcus's team fought their way toward the extraction point. Multiple casualties among the security forces, Lieutenant Voss reported, but they're not backing down. They can't afford to let us succeed, Marcus replied, returning fire while ushering the rescued children toward safety. Too much money and political capital invested in this program. The breakthrough came when the children themselves joined the fight. Their enhanced abilities, developed through months of forced experimentation, turned the tide decisively. Energy barriers deflected weapons fire, while technological interfaces disabled security systems throughout the facility. By the time they reached the extraction ships, news feeds across human and alien space were broadcasting footage of the rescued children and documentation of the consortium's illegal activities. Public outrage was immediate and overwhelming. The Earth's government is calling for a full investigation, Alina reported through the communication channels. Several high-ranking officials have already resigned in anticipation of criminal charges. Phoenix's fleet had successfully engaged and defeated the consortium's military assets, but not without cost. 3 ships had been lost, along with dozens of crew members who had volunteered to protect children they had never met, as they returned to the flagship with over 60 rescued children. Marcus felt a mixture of triumph and exhaustion. The immediate crisis was over, but the larger questions about human-alien cooperation and the future of hybrid children remained. Unanswered, Nova and Jackson had proven themselves to be natural leaders among the rescued children, helping them adjust to freedom while working with Phoenix's medical teams to address the physical and psychological trauma they had endured. What happens now? Nova asked Marcus as they watched the other children exploring their temporary quarters aboard the flagship. Now you get to choose your own futures, Marcus replied. All of you. No more experiments, no more being treated as assets or weapons, and you and Zara. Jackson asked, with the directness that Marcus had come to expect from him. Will you stay together?